Most people who hate their lives do not look miserable. They look responsible. They look kind. They look like they did everything right. They followed rules that were never meant to lead to fulfillment. They became agreeable instead of authentic, helpful instead of honest, reliable instead of alive. And because of that, their dissatisfaction stays hidden, even from themselves. Good people are taught early that wanting more is selfish. That discomfort should be tolerated. That endurance is a virtue. So they endure. They endure jobs that slowly hollow them out. They endure relationships that depend on their self-denial. They endure routines that numb rather than nourish. Over time, endurance becomes identity. And identity becomes a prison that looks like stability. The hatred does not show up as rage. It shows up as fatigue without cause, as irritation at small things, as a quiet resentment toward life itself. They tell themselves they should be grateful. And that word becomes a weapon against their own truth. Gratitude used to suppress truth is not wisdom. It is avoidance dressed as morality. Good people are often experts at self-betrayal. They can explain away their own unhappiness better than anyone else. They say it's not that bad. Others have it worse. This is just how life is. But something inside them keeps protesting. Not loudly, persistently. That protest appears as boredom that no rest fixes, as envy toward people who live differently, as fantasies of escape that never turn into action. This is not because good people are ungrateful. It is because they were trained to be good at the cost of being real. They learned to prioritize harmony over honesty, approval over alignment, peacekeeping over self-respect. And the psyche does not forget those trade-offs. Every time a boundary is swallowed, tension accumulates. Every time a truth is silenced, energy drains. Every time desire is postponed, meaning erodes. Eventually, life starts to feel like an obligation rather than an expression. That is when the secret hatred forms. Not hatred toward others, hatred toward the life they feel trapped inside. What makes this dangerous is that it feels undeserved. They did everything they were supposed to do. So why does it feel wrong? Because goodness without wholeness becomes self-abandonment. The psyche does not reward virtue that requires self-erasure. It resists it. That resistance is often misdiagnosed as laziness, as depression, as lack of motivation. But underneath is a simpler truth. They are living against their nature. Good people often suppress anger first. Anger feels unacceptable, too sharp, too disruptive. But anger is not cruelty. It is information. It signals violated boundaries, unspoken needs, denied instincts. When anger is suppressed long enough, it turns inward. It becomes bitterness, cynicism, a quiet contempt for life. This is why some of the kindest people feel the most exhausted. They are carrying the emotional cost of being liked. They are exhausted from being reasonable, from being understanding, from being the one who adapts. And adaptation without reciprocity breeds resentment. The tragedy is that they believe this resentment makes them bad, so they suppress it further, deepening the split. Outwardly, they remain good. Inwardly, they feel trapped. This is not a personal failure. It is a psychological consequence. You cannot build a meaningful life by subtracting yourself from it. This pattern does not begin with adulthood choices. It begins with early adaptation. Most good people learned very young that love was conditional, not stated openly, implied subtly. They learned that being easy made things smoother, that being quiet avoided conflict, that being helpful earned approval. So they became skilled at reading rooms, at sensing moods, at adjusting themselves before anyone asked. This skill was praised. You're mature, you're understanding, you're so good. And slowly, goodness fused with survival. When a child learns that harmony keeps them safe, they internalize a rule. My needs come second. This rule does not disappear with age. It becomes refined. As an adult, it shows up as people-pleasing, over-explaining, difficulty saying no, guilt after choosing oneself. Good people often confuse discomfort with danger, because in early life, discomfort did have consequences: withdrawal, coldness, disapproval. So the nervous system stays alert, always scanning, always accommodating. This constant vigilance drains vitality. It is not that good people lack desire. It is that desire feels risky. Wanting something means risking disappointment, conflict, loss of approval. So desire is softened into preference, and preference is postponed indefinitely. This is how lives become small, without obvious tragedy. No dramatic collapse, just a gradual shrinking. Good people often live lives that look acceptable from the outside, but feel hollow from the inside. They tell themselves they are lucky, that they should not complain. And that belief keeps them stuck longer than pain ever could. Because pain demands change, but moral obligation demands endurance. The psyche cannot endure self-neglect forever. It begins to protest, sometimes through anxiety, sometimes through numbness, sometimes through fantasies of escape that feel irrational. But these are not malfunctions. They are corrections, a signal that something essential has been abandoned. Good people often fear that choosing themselves will make them selfish. But selfishness is not self-respect. Self-respect is clarity. It is the ability to say, "This matters to me," without justification, without apology. Until that clarity develops, goodness becomes a cage. Not because kindness is wrong, but because kindness without boundaries is self-erasure. The moment a good person begins to prioritize alignment over approval, resistance appears from others and from within. Guilt surfaces, fear surfaces, old voices resurface. You're changing. You're becoming difficult. You're not the same. That discomfort is not evidence of wrongdoing. It is evidence of growth. When you stop betraying yourself, systems that benefited from your silence destabilize, and they will try to restore the old balance. This is where many retreat. They mistake resistance for a sign to stop. But resistance is expected. Any shift away from self-denial feels threatening to identities built around being needed. The real question is not why good people hate their lives. It is why they stay loyal to patterns that drain them. When a good person stops trying to be good all the time, something unsettling happens first. They feel wrong. Not immoral, not cruel, just wrong. Because for years, goodness was their compass. If something caused discomfort in others, it must be bad. If something created tension, it must be avoided. So when honesty replaces politeness, the nervous system panics. It feels like danger. Guilt rises immediately. Not because harm was done, but because a familiar role was abandoned. This is the most misunderstood phase. Many people retreat here. They mistake guilt for evidence of selfishness. But guilt, in this case, is not moral. It is habitual. It is the residue of old conditioning. The truth is simple, but uncomfortable. A life built entirely on being good cannot be a life that is fully lived. Goodness without truth becomes performance, and performance eventually breeds resentment. When honesty enters, relationships change. Some deepen, some fracture, some reveal that they were never mutual to begin with. This is painful, but it is also clarifying. You begin to see who benefits from your silence, who thrives on your flexibility, who only feels safe when you are small. This is not an accusation. It is information, and information restores agency. A good person who learns to be honest does not become cruel. They become clear. They stop explaining themselves endlessly. They stop volunteering for their own depletion. They stop equating love with endurance. And slowly, life regains texture. Energy returns, not as excitement, but as steadiness. Decisions feel lighter because they are aligned. Rest feels restorative because it is deserved. Desire feels alive because it is no longer negotiated away. The quiet hatred dissolves, not because life becomes perfect, but because life becomes truthful. Good people do not hate their lives because they are broken. They hate their lives because they were trained to abandon themselves politely. The moment that training is questioned, everything begins to shift, not dramatically, but honestly. And honesty is enough. If this video resonated with you, pause for a moment before moving on. Ask yourself one question. without judgment. Where am I still being good at the cost of being real? Write your answer in the comments, not to confess, but to make it conscious. If this helped you see something clearly, like the video so it reaches others who need it. Subscribe if you want more deep psychological explorations into identity, self-betrayal, and inner freedom. And remember this quietly. You don't need to stop being a good person. You just need to stop disappearing to maintain it.